Hey guys, Poker Hero here, back with another hand review video. I'm going to try a little different format here to make these a little more interactive for our crowd here. So I'm hoping to get you guys to leave some notes here in the comments so we can share with each other and everybody improves their game. So this is the scenario we're working with tonight. So we're in a 10 NL 6 max cash game. There are 5 players in this hand. We will be in the cutoff spot. The main button we have a decent amount of history with. He is on the button. He is a VPIP of 34, a pre-flop raise of 24, and a 3-bet of 8. So while he's not necessarily a maniac, he's kind of aggressive for the player pool. I've seen him make a lot of big bets. I've seen him make a lot of raises, at least kind of comparative to the other players in the pool that at 10 and L are still a little bit passive. So we come here and, we're lucky enough to get dealt pocket aces. It folds to us in the cutoff and we raise it to 25 cents. I've been experimenting still with different open sizes between 2.5, 3, or 3.5x. I've been going with the 2.5 lately just because that allows me to open a few more hands, I feel, in some of these, especially later positions. So that's what we're going with here. We can certainly do another video and debate the merits of that. The main villain calls on the button, as well as the big blind calls. So before we even see the flop, start thinking about what kind of hands these guys have or could have and what their ranges look like. Flop comes 10-9-2, 2 hearts. So it is checked to us in the cutoff. So we have to start thinking, do we want to bet? And if so, what size? So I think this is a good board. I think this is something you want to bet virtually every time. I think this is something you want to bet for a relatively large sizing, something like 2/3 pot. Why is that? So there's a lot of hands here I think you can get called with. You can get called by. There's going to be a lot of flush draws in these 2 players' ranges. There are going to be a lot of straight draws in these 2 players' ranges. Granted, there are some sets. There are some 10-9 for 2-pair combinations. But guys will call with some, these guys have ace 10, king 10, queen 10, jack 10, all of which you're well ahead of. So I do think a bet here is in order, somewhere around 2/3 pot. So we come out here and bet 50 cents to see that we are promptly raised by the button to $1.82. So as we do this here, let's start thinking about what kind of hands the villain would do that with. So let's start thinking about his range. Let's go to Poker Cruncher and try to visualize that. So I put in here a projective range for the button player here. So, he's playing some hands. He's a little bit looser player, though, but he's not a maniac. So when you're looking at these scenarios, you just got to take your best educated guess at which hands he could be playing. So we have him here on the button playing about 19% of hands. That's honestly probably even a little tight based on this player profile. It kind of gets real hard to know what a bottom of a guy's range is. So if you use something kind of, textbook-y, it kind of gets you a good starting point, and you can be diverse from that. So if a guy's playing a little bit wider, you can add some hands, a little bit tighter, you can remove it. But this is probably the loose side of what he actually wants to do here from a textbook standpoint. So that's what we're going to do. So if you plug the flop in and look at the flop against his actual range, we have this guy crushed. At this point in the hand, we have 95% equity. So betting wasn't a problem. But now we got to think of what hands would he raise? What hands would like an aggressive-ish player raise? Well, he's probably going to raise some portion of flush draws, some portion of open-ended straight draws. When you have these raising ranges, you want to make sure you have draws in there. There's a whole lot of possibilities in here for him to raise. He's going to want to raise for protection probably his sets. There are 9 combinations of sets out there that he can be raising, as well as a couple combinations of 10-9. I guess really only 2 suited combinations of 10-9 that he'd be playing from that position. So that's only 11 value combinations he has. He's a whole lot more draws than that. So probably from a value perspective, he's playing anywhere or attempting to get anywhere near balance. He's raising some top pair in there as well. So he has pairs of ace 10, king 10. He might do a jack 10 just because that is a connected card with it. He might raise some pairs of those. So what I did is I went through and eliminated everything here but flush draws, open-ended straight draws, some top pairs, some 2 pairs, and the sets. So what that does for us is that raises his equity, but only to 18%. So if you see here, he has 42% of his range. Here in the middle, 42% is flush draws, 35% is open-ended straight draws. The hands were really only behind is, 15% of the time he has a set, 3% of the time he has a two pair, and that's how you get your 18%. Everything else is either a weak top pair that we're beating or a draw. So I feel our decision here is relatively easy, and we call. Turn gets a little more interesting as it comes the queen of clubs, and it goes check, check. So now we have to start thinking, based on that fact, how does this narrow the opponent's range? So I went back here into Poker Cruncher, took another look at this thing. The only hands I feel out of that that he wouldn't bet are the sets. He would still want to bet. The only thing he would bet here are the sets because he would still want the protection. Everything else being the draws, the weak top pairs. So if you had ace-10 or something, though, you're not going to bet in another street once an overcard comes when you're in position. What he would bet are the sets for protection. Is he going to bet, let's say he has ace, jack of hearts. Does he bet that with a flush draw and a gut shot? And the honest answer is, one, there's only a single combination of hands, and two, we honestly don't know. From what I've seen with players is I would tend to say if they have a hand they're worried about getting outdrawn with, that they're likely to bet it. If they have a draw, especially a decent high card draw, meaning like an ace high flush draw versus 5-4, which really has no showdown value, they're more likely to take that free card and see if they can hit on the river. That is opinion. Different villains play it differently. So certainly leave a comment below if you think that your opponent here would bet something like an ace jack of hearts. Please leave a comment and hey, help teach me in return. So now we come to the river, which is the queen of hearts. We check. I don't think there's any reason to lead here, particularly the range we just gave him. That is a lot of flush draws. We check. And we face a bet of $1.70, a small bet. The math is up top. We need 22% equity here. So here's the question. Here's where I want you guys to leave some feedback here. This is what the decision point is going to be in the hand. Despite the fact that we have pocket aces, the best starting hand in poker, despite the fact that we're getting laid very good pot odds and only need to be right 22% of the time here, do you make this call? Is it automatic for you with pocket aces, or is this something where you're really going to sit back and try to range these guys and try to make a logical decision on it? So please leave a comment. I'll try to respond and get a conversation going with as many of you as possible. So let's see if we can start a community and get this thing going. Here are my thoughts or analysis kind of after the fact here. When we plug it into the range that we had given him on the turn, look at the percentage there. He has 94% equity. He just absolutely has us crushed. So the question here is literally in a sense is what hand is he betting for value at this point that we're beating? And the answer is virtually none. If you look at, I unfortunately still have 10-9 suited in here, which is a worst two pair. That may be the actual only hand in this range that we are beating. Because everything else is either a flush draw, trips. That was actually, unfortunately, a mistake by my point, and he may have close to 100% equity given on the range that we gave him. So I think, unfortunately, this is a fold. I think for pocket aces, that was just the worst possible run out. But you guys let me know how your opponents play this. Maybe I'm too tight. I should be calling off in these situations. But I will tell you, unfortunately, I did call here with the pocket aces, and he did have the 8-6 of clubs. So that made sense on the way we ranged this guy and the way we worked through the hand. It was a draw with no inherent showdown value. So on the flop, it was a flush draw plus gut shot. So actually a very good hand to raise. It was good for him on that part. On the turn here, he got a little scared because obviously we'd have some kind of value to continue. So he checked, hoping to draw out to his, he had what, 15? No, I'm sorry, he had 12 outs at that point. And he got there. So actually, with the way we ranged it, fortunately enough, we got this one right. So guys, Thank you if you've stuck with me for this long. Hope you enjoyed this. I'd like to make some more of these, and definitely leave a comment below. I'd like to know how you would play this. All right? Thanks, guys. Good luck in your games.